deep space radar screen flickered in the dark control room. Commander Jason Wells rubbed his tired eyes and looked again. The signal was still there, growing stronger with each scan. He had been watching it for 3 hours now, and it was definitely not an asteroid. The readings showed perfectly symmetrical metal structures moving in formation. Something was coming toward Earth, and it was definitely not natural. "Dr. Martinez, can you come look at this?" Jason called across the room. Dr. Lisa Martinez put down her coffee and walked over to his station. As the chief xenobiologist on board the USS Independence, she had seen many strange signals from space, but this one made her heart race. "That's not possible," she whispered, staring at the screen. "Those are artificial patterns, and they're huge. Each object is at least 1 kilometer long." She quickly pulled up her calculations. "If those are ships, we're looking at a fleet of at least 200 vessels." Word spread quickly through the space station. Captain John Baker was awakened from his sleep and rushed to the command center. As the senior officer responsible for first contact protocols, he knew this moment might come one day. But knowing and experiencing were two different things. His hands shook slightly as he reviewed the data. "Send an alert to Earth immediately," he ordered. "All channels, maximum priority. We have confirmation of non-human technology approaching our solar system." Back on Earth, President Angela Davis was pulled from a late-night meeting. Her advisors filled the situation room as data streamed in from the Independence. Around the world, telescopes turned toward the incoming signals. Military leaders checked their readiness reports. Scientists argued about the possibility of peaceful contact. "Any response to our messages?" the President asked her communication director. "Nothing, Madam President. We've tried every frequency, every known mathematical sequence. Either they don't want to talk or they can't understand us." General Sam Turner, the head of Earth Defense Forces, stood quietly in the corner, studying the tactical displays. He had spent 20 years preparing for this scenario, but now that it was happening, everything felt different. Real, urgent, dangerous. "General, what are your recommendations?" President Davis asked. "We activate all defense protocols immediately, put every base on high alert, and we start moving our ships into defensive positions around Earth and key colonies." In a secret facility in Nevada, engineer Katie Johnson worked frantically at her computer terminal. Few people knew about the quantum defense network she had been building for the past decade. Hidden satellites, secret weapons, automated systems that could be activated if Earth ever came under attack. Today might be that day. "Katie, we need those defenses online now," her supervisor said over the intercom. "This isn't a drill." "I know," she replied, typing rapidly. "But if we activate everything too early, they might detect our capabilities. We need to appear weak until the right moment." 3 days passed. The alien fleet continued its approach, now close enough for visual confirmation. The ships were unlike anything humans had imagined. They looked like giant insects made of metal, with wings that seemed to bend space around them. Each vessel bristled with weapons that glowed with unknown energy. Then came the message. It arrived directly to every screen, every radio, every communication device on Earth simultaneously. The voice spoke in perfect English, though it had a strange metallic quality that made everyone who heard it feel cold. "Inferior species of the third planet. We are the Zephyrian Empire. Fleet Admiral Vextor commands this invasion force. You have developed faster than expected, but you are still primitive compared to our civilization. We offer you one choice: surrender completely or face total annihilation. You have 72 Earth hours to decide." The message ended abruptly, leaving humanity in stunned silence. President Davis looked around the situation room at her advisors. Some were pale with fear. Others showed anger in their eyes. But most looked determined. "Any chance this is a hoax?" she asked hopefully. "No, Madam President," Admiral Alan Morrison answered. "Our xenobiology team confirms the signal uses quantum entanglement technology. That's far beyond any known human capability." "And their fleet?" 500 ships now. Each one appears to be carrying thousands of soldiers based on our energy readings. President Davis stood up slowly. Around the world, similar scenes played out in command centers and government buildings. humanity faced its first true test from beyond Earth. Admiral Morrison, begin Operation Rising Sun. General Turner, I want every soldier, every pilot, every ship ready for combat. Dr. Stevens, how quickly can our secret weapons be deployed? Dr. Paul Stevens looked up from his tablet. His plasma plant's technology had been theoretical until 6 months ago, but recent breakthroughs had made the impossible possible. 48 hours for full deployment, Madam President, but we'll have some systems operational within 12 hours. Good. And our response to the Zephyrians? President Davis walked to the central display, looking at the image of Earth surrounded by red enemy markers. Her advisors waited in silence. Send them a message, Admiral. Tell them that humanity appreciates their warning. Tell them we've considered their offer carefully. She paused, letting a small smile cross her face. And then tell them we decline. If they want Earth, they'll have to come and take it. The room erupted with mixed reactions. Some cheered, others looked worried. But everyone knew that humanity had just declared war on an alien empire. The next 72 hours would determine whether Earth would remain free or become another conquered world in the Zephyrian Empire. Outside the windows of command centers and military bases, people looked up at the night sky. The stars looked the same as always, but everyone knew that was about to change. Humanity was no longer alone, and now it would prove whether it deserved to survive among the stars. The message reached the Zephyrian fleet 12 hours later. Fleet Admiral Vexitor stood in his command chamber, his forearms crossed in what humans would recognize as disbelief. The translation matrix hummed as it processed Earth's response. One more time. They declined? His second officer asked, confusion evident in his voice. Yes, Vexter replied slowly. These primitives actually told us to come and take their world. They have no idea what they face. On the edge of Earth's solar system, 500 Zephyrian warships hung like sleeping giants. Each vessel dwarfed humanity's largest spacecraft. Their magnetic field generators alone could tear apart a small moon. Their soldiers, bred for conquest, had never lost a battle in 300 years of expansion. Back on Earth, Admiral Alan Morrison stood in the newly constructed United Command Center, watching streams of data flow across holographic displays. Representatives from every nation sat at their stations, connected to their home forces but united under one command. It was something that had never happened before in human history. Morrison, to all station commanders, he spoke into his headset. Operation Rising Sun is now active. Deploy all assets according to the plan. Around the world, hidden military bases came alive. Fighters lifted off from secret airfields. Destroyers left their ports under cover of darkness. Space stations that officially didn't exist suddenly powered up their weapon systems. In an underground command bunker, Lieutenant Amy Collins reviewed her squadron's orders one final time. The Wasps, as her unit was called, consisted of 12 of humanity's best fighter pilots. Each flew ships that were still classified, using engines that bent the laws of physics as everyone understood them. Listen up, Wasps, she addressed her. Team over the comm system. In 6 hours we launch. Remember your training. We're not just fighting for Earth. We're showing these aliens that humans don't surrender. Across the Atlantic, Colonel Rick Thompson worked with his psychological warfare division. His team had analyzed every byte of data from the Zephyrians, looking for weaknesses in their communication patterns, their language structure, anything that could give humans an advantage. Sir, one of his analysts called out. I think I found something. Their fleet formation, it's too perfect. Look at these patterns. Rick moved to the analyst's screen. The Zephyrian ships were arranged in a precise geometric pattern that optimized their defensive capabilities. But patterns could be predicted, and predictions could be exploited. Good work, soldier. Send this to tactical immediately. Meanwhile, in orbit around Earth, the USS Independence worked as the eyes and ears of human forces. Dr. Lisa Martinez had spent the last day and night studying the alien technology through long-range scans. What she discovered both amazed and worried her. Captain Baker, she called out, you need to see this. She displayed her findings on the main screen. Their ships use some form of crystalline technology. It's incredibly advanced, but it has a consistent resonance frequency. If we could generate a counter-frequency, we could disrupt their shields. Baker finished. Get this to Dr. Stevens immediately. Dr. Paul Stevens was already 3 steps ahead. His plasma lance technology had been designed specifically as an anti-shield weapon. With Dr. Martinez's new data, he could modify the frequency to target Zephyrian defenses. We'll need time, he told the assembled leadership over video conference. At least 24 hours to reprogram all systems. President Davis nodded. You have it. Do whatever you need to do. On the ground, Marine Sergeant Bill Hayes drilled his troops with an intensity no one had seen before. His unit would be responsible for defending key Earth installations if the enemy managed to land. Any forces. Remember, he shouted to his squad, these aliens might be big, they might be strong, but they bleed just like anything else. We make them pay for every meter of ground. His soldiers responded with determination. They had all volunteered for this mission, knowing they faced something unlike any human enemy. But they had trained for this possibility. Earth's military had always prepared for the unknown. Above them, the countdown continued. 60 hours remaining. In space, the Zephyrians had begun their advance. Their fleet moved like a single organism, each ship perfectly synchronized with the others. To Admiral Vextor, this was just another routine conquest. His empire had absorbed dozens of civilizations. Humanity would be no different. Deploy advanced scouts, he ordered. I want detailed scans of their technological level, standard procedure. But, as the scout ships approached the inner solar system, something strange happened. They encountered an invisible barrier. Their scans detected nothing, but they could not proceed beyond Jupiter's orbit. It was as if space itself was pushing back against them. Admiral, the tactical officer reported, our scouts are experiencing unknown resistance. They cannot advance further. Vextor's expression darkened. This had never happened before. Send more ships. Break through whatever primitive barrier they have constructed. On Earth, Katie Johnson monitored her quantum defense network from her secret control room. The first layer of Earth's defenses had activated automatically, creating a detection barrier that wrapped around the solar system. Every alien movement was now being tracked and analyzed. They're testing our defenses, she reported to her supervisor, just like we expected. Are they detecting our systems? No, sir. To them, it just looks like empty space that won't let them pass. They have no idea what they're hitting. As the deadline approached its halfway point, both sides prepared for what would come next. The Zephyrians had expected quick surrender or a brief futile resistance. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that was ready, organized, and determined. In the United Command Center, Admiral Morrison addressed the assembled leaders one final time before the next phase began. Ladies and gentlemen, in 12 hours they will attempt to force their way into our system. When they do, they're going to discover that humanity has been preparing for this day since we first looked up at the stars. Operation Rising Sun moves to Phase 2. May God help us all. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what was coming, but now humanity was as ready as it could be. The gathering storm was about to break. The first strike came exactly 12 hours before the deadline. 10 Zephyrian warships pushed forward, firing energy weapons to clear a path through the invisible barrier. The attack lit up the dark space between Jupiter and Earth with bright flashes of blue and white light. Captain Matt Wilson watched from the bridge of his stealth bomber, the Nighthawk, hidden behind one of Jupiter's smaller moons. His crew had been waiting in complete silence for 3 hours, their ship's systems running at minimal power to avoid detection. Target confirmed, his weapons officer reported quietly. Lead enemy vessel is in range. Fire at will, Wilson ordered. The Nighthawk's experimental kinetic weapons fired in complete silence. Tungsten rods accelerated to near light speed streaked toward the Zephyrian flagship. The aliens never saw them coming. The first impact struck the enemy ship's forward shield generator. The explosion was massive, sending shock waves through the alien formation. Before they could react, 3 more bombers opened fire from different positions. 4 enemy vessels suffered critical damage in the first 30 seconds of combat. "This is Sierra Leader to all units," Captain Wilson broadcast, over the human network. "First blood is ours. Repeat, first blood is ours." On Earth, Dr. Helen Cooper activated her experimental electromagnetic pulse platform. Hidden in space, disguised as orbital debris, dozens of these weapons powered up simultaneously. When she pressed the final button, invisible pulses of energy swept across space toward the alien fleet. The effect was immediate. Zephyrian ships that moments ago had been perfectly coordinated suddenly moved erratically. Their communications went dark. Ships that had been firing disciplined volleys now shot randomly into space. "Their coordination is breaking down," Major Steve Adams reported from his fighter squadron. "Just like the simulations predicted. All wings, execute Tiger Pattern Alpha," he ordered. "Hit them while they're blind." Human fighters streaked from hidden positions throughout the asteroid belt. Flying in groups of 3, they targeted specific systems on the damaged alien vessels. These pilots had trained for this moment their entire careers, but nothing fully prepared them for the reality of space combat. Lieutenant Grace Miller led her wing straight at an enemy cruiser. Its shields were down, its weapons firing wildly. Her targeting computer locked onto its main engine core. Fox 3, she called out, launching her missiles. "Direct hit. Enemy cruiser is venting atmosphere." Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out, but the Zephyrians were not helpless. As their ships recovered from the electromagnetic assault, they began to fight back with terrible efficiency. Admiral Vextor watched his tactical display with growing concern. These humans were not fighting like primitives. Their attacks were coordinated, precise, and they seemed to know exactly where to strike. "Launch fighter screens," he ordered. "Deploy all combat drones. Something is wrong here." The battle intensified. Zephyrian fighters, each the size of a small human ship, poured from the alien carriers. Their weapons were more powerful than anything humanity had ever faced. Energy beams that could slice through asteroids reached out toward human fighters. Commander Luke Davis commanded Earth's defense coordination from a secret command ship hidden among Saturn's rings. Operation Hornet's Nest was working perfectly. Small human units were attacking from unpredictable directions like angry insects swarming a giant predator. "Phase 2. Go," he ordered. "Show them what happens when you wake the Hornets." From previously hidden positions, larger human warships revealed themselves. The USS Dragon, USS Phoenix, and 20 other capital ships dropped their stealth cloaking and opened fire with their main guns. These ships had been built in secret over the past decade, their construction hidden from even Earth's civilian population. The tide of battle shifted again. Human plasma weapons, modified with Dr. Martinez's frequency data, tore through Zephyrian shields like they were made of paper. The aliens, so confident in their technological superiority, found themselves outgunned and outmaneuvered. On the surface of Earth's moon, massive hidden batteries revealed themselves. These weapons, built into the lunar surface itself, had been disguised as mining operations for years. When they fired, the entire visible face of the moon lit up like a second sun. The lunar bombardment was devastating. Energy beams, each powerful enough to crack a ship in half, swept across the Zephyrian formation. Alien vessels that survived. The beams found themselves caught in crossfire from human ships that seemed to appear from nowhere. Admiral Vextor's confidence was shattered. His sensors showed him impossible things. Humans were firing from positions that his scouts had reported empty. Their weapons were more advanced than intelligence had indicated. Worst of all, they were winning. "All ships, defensive formation. Omega," he ordered. "Retreat to minimum engagement distance." But the humans had one more surprise. As the Zephyrian fleet attempted to withdraw, Captain Lisa Wright led boarding parties launched from hidden carriers. These specialized soldiers used small, fast ships to lock onto damaged alien vessels. "Breaching now," she reported as her team cut through the hull of an enemy destroyer. "Resistance is light. Their air is thin, and the gravity feels strange, but we're advancing." Her soldiers moved through the alien ship like ghosts, using training that prepared them for any environment. They had studied every piece of data about Zephyrian biology and technology. They knew where to find critical systems, how to disable alien weapons where the crew quarters were likely to be. Within an hour, 3 alien ships were under human control. Their computers were being downloaded, their crew captured or eliminated. The intelligence gathered would be invaluable, but more importantly, it sent a message to the enemy. Dr. Tom Rogers, leading the Computer Warfare Division, had been fighting his own battle. While ships exchanged fire outside, he waged war in cyberspace. The quantum computers he used were barely powerful enough to break into alien networks, but the effort paid off. "I'm in," he shouted to his team, downloading their battle plans, ship specifications, even their homeworld coordinates. "This is incredible." As the first day of combat drew to a close, both sides took stock of their losses. The Zephyrians had lost 40 ships destroyed or captured, with another 100 damaged. Human losses were lighter but still significant. 23 ships destroyed and hundreds of fighters lost. In the United Command Center, Admiral Morrison studied the battle reports with satisfaction mixed with concern. They had won the first engagement, but the war was far from over. "Status report all departments," he ordered. "Enemy fleet is regrouping at maximum weapons range," Tactical reported. "They've learned to respect our capabilities." "Our losses are within acceptable parameters," Medical added. "But we've expended 30% of our ammunition." Morrison nodded. The first phase was complete, but he knew Admiral Vextor would not make the same mistakes twice. The real test was yet to come. Fleet Admiral Vextor stared at the damage reports flowing across his command display. For the first time in his 300 years of service, he felt something he had never experienced before: uncertainty. These humans had turned what should have been a simple conquest into a nightmare. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "our analysis shows the humans have been preparing for this for decades. These weapons, these tactics, they were designed specifically to counter our technology." "That's impossible," Vextor replied, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. "Our scouts showed them to be primitive. How could they?" Before he could finish, new alerts flooded his screens. Human ships were moving again, but this time in a coordinated pattern that defied all known military doctrine. Rear Admiral Ben Clark commanded the Quantum Torpedo Division from the USS Avalanche, hidden behind a carefully placed asteroid field. His ships carried humanity's secret weapon, torpedoes that used quantum entanglement to bypass normal space and appear inside enemy shields. "Target the flagship," he ordered. "Show them what happens when Earth shows its teeth." The quantum torpedoes launched silently, disappearing from normal space before reappearing inside 3 major Zephyrian vessels. The explosions were catastrophic. 2 ships broke apart immediately, their internal structures collapsing under the force of the detonations. The third, Admiral Vextor's own flagship, suffered massive damage, but remained intact. "Impossible," Vextor shouted as alarms echoed through his ship. "Nothing can penetrate our shields, nothing." Captain Lisa Wright, now leading 40 captured alien vessels crewed by human soldiers, moved to exploit the confusion. Her mixed fleet of human and Zephyrian ships advanced on the enemy formation, firing from both sides simultaneously. "All captured. Vessels concentrate fire on their command ships," she ordered. "Let's send them a message they can't ignore." The psychological impact was immediate. Zephyrian soldiers watched in horror as their own weapons turned against them. Ships they had served on for years now fired upon them with precision that only came from intimate knowledge of their weaknesses. In his laboratory aboard the flagship Titan, Dr. Tom Rogers worked frantically with the data stolen from Zephyrian computers. What he found changed everything he thought they knew about the enemy. "Admiral Morrison," he called over the secure channel, his voice shaking with excitement. "I've found something incredible. These aliens, they've never lost a ground battle because they've never fought on the ground. They always win through space superiority alone." Morrison's eyes narrowed. "What are you saying, Doctor?" "They have no experience with actual planetary invasion. Their soldiers are trained for boarding actions only. They expect every species to surrender once their space fleet is defeated." The implications hit Morrison immediately. "Which means if we can prove we won't surrender." "Exactly. They have no contingency plan for a species that keeps fighting. This information reached Major Kyle Anderson just as he was coordinating Earth's ground defense systems. Working with Dr. Rogers' discovery, he began implementing a new strategy. All ground forces, new directive, he announced. The enemy cannot win on our surface. They have no experience with planetary warfare. We use every advantage we have. Part of that advantage was something the aliens could never have anticipated. Earth's music. Colonel Mary Jones had discovered that Zephyrian hearing was extremely sensitive to certain frequencies. Working with captured equipment, she developed sonic weapons based on human heavy metal music. Deploy the sound cannons, she ordered as enemy landing craft approached Earth's largest cities. Let's show them the power of human culture. The weapons activated across the globe. Massive speakers hidden in urban areas began broadcasting a modified version of classical heavy metal at frequencies that disrupted Zephyrian nervous systems. Enemy soldiers caught in the waves fell to their knees, unable to function. In space, the battle raged on. Commander Nick Taylor led the final phase of humanity's strategy. Using precise timing, every human ship in the system simultaneously targeted. The enemy's faster-than-light drives. All ships concentrate fire on the FTL engines, he broadcast. Don't let a single ship escape. The coordinated assault was devastating. Zephyrian vessels found their escape routes cut off, their retreat options eliminated. Ships that had traveled across galaxies now found themselves trapped in Earth's solar system. Admiral Vextor realized with growing horror that he was not just losing a battle. He was facing the complete destruction of his invasion force. These humans had done something no other species had ever accomplished. They had not just resisted, they had turned the tables entirely. All ships, he broadcast to his fleet, his voice heavy with defeat. Prepare for. He couldn't finish the sentence. In 3 centuries of conquest, the word had never passed his lips before. Sir, his communication officer said. Quietly, the humans are broadcasting on all channels. The message was simple, delivered by Admiral Morrison himself. Zephyrian fleet, you came to Earth expecting easy conquest. You found prepared defenders. You threatened our home, our families, our way of life. Now you face a choice. Surrender immediately and accept our terms, or face complete annihilation. You have 1 hour to decide. The silence that followed was deafening. Across the alien fleet, soldiers who had never known defeat faced a reality they had never imagined. Their weapons were outmatched, their ships crippled, their escape impossible. Admiral Vextor looked around his damaged bridge at the crew who had served him faithfully. For decades, they looked back at him with the same question in their eyes. Admiral? His second-in-command asked quietly. Your orders? For the first time in his career, Fleet Admiral Vextor hesitated. These humans had done more than just defeat him. They had completely shattered everything he thought he knew about warfare, about conquest, about power itself. Above all, they had proven that some prey, when pushed too far, becomes the predator. As the hour deadline began its countdown, both fleets waited in the silence of space. The next few minutes would determine not just the fate of Earth, but the reputation of humanity among the stars. The example was almost complete. The hour passed slowly. On every human ship, crews waited at their stations, weapons ready. On every Zephyrian vessel, soldiers faced the unthinkable reality of surrender. The 2 fleets hung in space like frozen predators, each watching for the other's next move. Finally, the communication channels crackled to life. Admiral Vextor's voice, once proud and commanding, now carried the weight of defeat. Human forces, this is Fleet Admiral Vextor. After careful consideration, the Zephyrian invasion fleet hereby surrenders unconditionally to Earth Defense Forces. The United Command Center, every human cheered. Years of secret preparation, decades of hidden development, countless sacrifices had all led to this moment. President Angela Davis stood quietly, watching the celebration while thinking about what would come next. Admiral Morrison, she said calmly, I believe you have a protocol for this? Morrison nodded, pulling up documents that had been prepared but never expected to be used. Yes, Madam President. Operation New Dawn, the post-invasion protocols. Around Earth, celebrations erupted in every major city. People poured into the streets, looking up at the sky where millions of lights now marked the presence of both fleets. It was a moment that united humanity like never before. But the leaders knew the hard work was just beginning. General Sam Turner flew to the alien flagship personally, accompanied by a team of xenobiology experts and translators. As his shuttle docked with the massive vessel, he thought about all the plans they had made for this possibility. "Remember," he told his team, "we're not here as conquerors. We're here as the victors who choose to show mercy. There's a difference." Vextor met them in his command chamber. The alien admiral stood tall despite his defeat. His forearms clasped in a gesture that human xenobiologists had learned meant respect. "General Turner," Vextor said in surprisingly clear English, "your species continues to surprise us. Even in victory, you show restraint." Turner nodded. "We fight when we must, Admiral, but we prefer to build bridges when we can. Your soldiers will be treated well while we negotiate the terms of surrender." Over the following weeks, the surrendered Zephyrian fleet was systematically disarmed and integrated into Earth's expanding space infrastructure. Captain Dave Miller took command of the occupation force, overseeing the transition from enemy fleet to Allied assets. "The alien technology is incredible," he reported to his superiors. "Combined with our own innovations, we can build ships that neither species could have imagined alone." Dr. Linda Brown led the reverse engineering teams, working alongside Zephyrian scientists who had volunteered to help Earth understand their technology. The cooperation was unprecedented. "They're actually eager to share their knowledge," she told President Davis during a briefing. Many of them never wanted to be conquerors. They were following orders from an empire that no longer made sense to them. The most surprising development came from the alien soldiers themselves. Used to rigid military discipline and conquest, many found themselves drawn to human concepts like voluntary service and individual choice. Within months, thousands of Zephyrians applied for citizenship on Earth and her colonies. Admiral Morrison established new patrol zones throughout the former Zephyrian invasion route. Human ships, now enhanced with combined technology, patrolled the space lanes that led to Earth, ensuring no other empire would make the same mistake. "We're not just protecting Earth anymore," he told his fleet commanders. "We're establishing humanity as a power that others must respect, a power that protects not just our own, but anyone who seeks peace." Commander Sarah Kim worked to create an interstellar communication network, linking Earth with friendly alien species that the Zephyrians had formerly threatened. The message was clear. Earth was open for trade and friendship, but aggressive empires would face swift justice. "It's working," she reported excitedly. "We've already made contact with 3 species that were living in fear of Zephyrian expansion. They're willing to form a defensive alliance with us." On the anniversary of the invasion attempt, monuments were erected on Earth and its colonies. Not monuments of war, but of warning, carved from Zephyrian ship metal and adorned with human technology. They bore a simple message in dozens of languages. "Here stands the example set by Earth. Those who seek peace will find friends. Those who bring war will find equals. Choose wisely." President Davis addressed the galaxy in a broadcast that reached farther than any human message had traveled before. 1 year ago, an invasion fleet approached Earth, expecting to find primitive victims. Instead, they found prepared defenders. But more importantly, they found mercy and victory. Today, former enemies work alongside humans to explore the stars and protect the innocent. This is the example we set: strength when threatened, compassion in victory, and openness to those who come in peace. In the former Zephyrian territories, now under Earth protection, new settlements grew. Human and alien children played together in gardens where once warships had massed for conquest. Scientists from different worlds collaborated on projects that pushed the boundaries of what either species had thought possible. Admiral Vextor, now serving as an advisor to Earth Defense Forces, often looked out at the stars from his quarters on the space station Harmony. His former fleet now formed the core of a combined defense force that protected multiple species. "My soldiers ask me," he told General Turner during one of their regular meetings, How Earth knew to prepare so well. How you were ready for something you had never faced. Turner smiled, looking out at the bustling station where humans, Zephyrians, and other species worked side by side. We were ready, Admiral, because humans have always known that we're not alone in the universe. And we've always believed that when that contact came, we'd need to be the best version of ourselves. Whether that meant defending our home with everything we had, or showing mercy to a fallen enemy. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Earth was not just another planet to be conquered. It was a force for both war and peace, a species that could destroy or protect with equal skill. Most importantly, it was an example that strength and compassion could coexist. As ships bearing the symbols of the Earth Defense Alliance patrolled the space lanes, every species in the galaxy understood one simple truth. Humanity protects its own, and those who come in peace will always find a home among the stars.